Okay, we're live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December 2nd meeting of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I cannot believe that it is already December 2nd.
And we've been at this a year. Whoa.
I know, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Sorry, that
No,
was my dog.
Yeah, but my dog was going bananas right before I got on. I was afraid that it was going to sound like a dog pound over here. So the first item we got on the agenda tonight is a review of our last meeting's minutes.
Let me, Tim, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh,
Let me
geez,
just
yeah.
do my spiel.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. So pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law June 16, 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. The meeting will be live streamed, but will have no option for public participation. To view or listen only, visit the YouTube link posted on the agenda on the town's website.
Thank you, Becca. So now, first item on the agenda is approval of the October 21st meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
Moved by Deidre, second by Miriam. So roll call vote. Mary Leach,
Hi.
Deidre Writing,
Aye.
Miriam Ibrahimi, Virginia Sims, George,
I'm abstaining.
Becca Meekins,
Aye.
and I, Tim Kalin, vote aye. Meeting minutes are approved. So next on the agenda is a review of the draft outline of our committee's final recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. Becca, thank you for sending over what you sent over. I thought it was great. Do you want to take over and just talk through that?
Yeah, sure. I apologize for sending it so late in the day today. But you know, I don't think we need to talk through it just yet. My hope is that you all will read through it. And if you have any changes, edits, recommendations, etc., just send them to me. And then what we'll do is at the next meeting, if there's any editorial changes or anything, we can talk through those. There are a few sections you'll notice where it says like insert X here. Those are things that I'm either waiting for from other folks or aren't quite finalized. I know I sent the detail about the policy that I'm still waiting to get feedback on. So as soon as I get that feedback, I will forward that along to you. The charge of the committee, I included that as a separate attachment, but I intend to include the language of the charge in the draft report. I think what I sent is the final. I know we've talked about it a couple times at the last few meetings, but if you guys want to take one more look at it and just make sure that all the changes that everyone recommended are incorporated, and if you think of anything else, just, you know, shoot me a message and we can make those changes. And I will have that included in the draft that we look at for the next meeting.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Just from a timing perspective, Becca, when do you think, I know we're meeting with the board January 24th, is it?
Mm-hmm.
When do you think we need to have our report finalized into the board's hands?
So I'm guessing that our last meeting is going to be January 6th. And my goal is for us to have the bow tied on January 6th, meaning the presentation is finalized, the report is finalized, any policies or attachments are finalized, and on the 7th, Friday morning, I can send everything off so that the board has, time to digest it.
Mhm.
Now that I'm thinking, I might send it the following week, now that I'm thinking about it. I do want to give them time to digest before we meet on the 24th, more than just a weekend, which is what they would typically get at a regular board meeting. Because it is a lengthy report, it's already 13 pages and it's gonna be longer because there are still things that we need to add in. So I do want to have that. I think on the 6th, everything should be ready to go.
Okay,
And I think we can meet that timeline based on what we have here. I think this is pretty close. We're missing a few things, but I think we're like 75% of the way there.
You've done
Yeah.
a great job, Becca, with the report. Looks so good.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
okay. All right, that's helpful. Just, I know that the section that I'm working on, I'm about 75% of the way there. So, I should have that over. My plan is to get it done this weekend, so I'll have that over to you. And it's just helpful so that we're all on the same timeline with expectations.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think that, once I have the sections, the rest of the sections, and we get the finalized policy and we're all in agreement on the charge, the next step is just developing the presentation, which, will not be 13 or 15 pages long, should be basically the executive summary of the report.
Right. Okay. All right, that sounds good. Anybody have any questions or feedback on that? Okay, good. So next on the agenda, discussion of the presentation of the final recommendation. Becca, what did you want to talk about with that?
So I want to make sure for everybody's understanding, Tim, you're planning on giving this presentation. Is that?
Yeah, so that's, I'm more than happy to make the presentation. But if anybody else wants to.
Did he freeze?
Tim?
Yeah.
He's frozen.
I
Don't-
literally- What a cliffhanger.
There you go.
What happened?
You froze.
You
Oh,
left
I
us on the
froze.
edge of our seat, yeah.
Yeah, right at a pivotal moment.
Where did it freeze?
You
If
were
anyone
saying
else-
Right at the
that
beginning.
anyone wanted to do, you were happy to do it, but if anyone wanted to, it was okay. Basically.
Yeah,
I'm okay with you doing it. You've done a lot of the work and you've been the leader. So I think it's right on. I think it's good if we came and we could be in the audience if it's open, if it's live.
Yeah, is it gonna be in
or
person?
not.
I
Are they
don't
meeting
No,
in
it will-
person? They're zooming?
no,
It'll be Zoom.
Okay, well, we could be still in the background through Zoom.
That sounds like a great idea. I would love to do the presentation with you if that works out.
okay.
Yeah.
Once we get all the pieces finalized, Miriam, just let me know which parts you wanna present, and
Yep. Good.
that works for me. So, and then how much time do you think we'll have for the presentation, Becca?
I mean, I don't think there's a time limit, but I would shoot for, if we can keep it inside 15 minutes for the presentation and leave a little bit of time for questions and discussion. Because I'm sure there'll be some back and forth, some questions, or, clarification, whatever. I think that would be good.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. That was my initial thought, was like right around 10 to 15 minutes, and then time for questions. And
Yeah, I'm thinking
Okay.
like a half hour total for the whole thing.
yeah,
Since if you and Miriam are gonna be giving the presentation, I don't know what you would put, if you guys wanna do a PowerPoint or some other, if you don't wanna use a visual aid of any kind, that's fine too, but if you need anything in terms of like putting together some sort of presentation material, I'm happy to help, or, whatever you would prefer, since you guys are gonna do most of the lifting on the presentation.
yeah. I think we should have, once we have maybe at the next meeting, once we have 90 to 100% of the actual text done, then have a discussion about what we want to present, because my concern is I don't want to present everything that we presented when we were at the midway point and just present all that information again. Like, I wonder if we should just focus more on the recommendations, and that's really it, because they'll have all the background information in the report itself, and just focus on the recommendations.
I would agree with you, Tim. I don't think the outline is perfect. It's good to have all that background information, but I think that would be too much. And I don't think that committee has the capacity to absorb all of this. So I think you should dumb it down and do the recommendations, basically.
Yeah, because I think the majority of the background stuff we gave to them already. I mean, there was some, like, we could touch on the listening session, because that happened after we met with the board last time, and there's some other things that came up after we met with the board last time. But I think it's really about presenting the recommendations, and
guess
just
what type of presentation is this? It sounds like what you're saying is it's more of a summary, but is it a pitch as well? Like, what is the goal of the presentation, or is there a general format that's already predetermined for these? I think that would help guide what material gets put in there.
Yeah, so I think it's. I'm sorry, Becca, were you going to say something?
No,
It is. I mean, from my experience, it's a combination of pitch and informational. So ultimately, we want the board to implement our recommendations. That's what we want. So anything that we can include in the presentation to help influence them to, implement the things that we're recommending, we obviously should include those. And then the report will help in that.
I would agree with you, Tim. Before going, what I found, and of course you were a selectman, so you have a lot more experience than I do, but I found that going in and being, more centered and say what you want to say, ask for what you need, then they then will ask questions. And you can certainly answer any questions that they could possibly ask. But that's what, I think is the way we should do, go in, recommendations, let them ask questions, and you answer the questions that will come before you.
Yeah,
I think it would be great if the emphasis is on like why the recommendations we're giving matter, like what the
Definitely.
impact will be of them. So I agree with Virginia, a very like, this is what we're recommending because of like this will be the outcome, or this is the need.
yeah.
This
Did
is,
you-
this
did
is
you-
what- Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Virginia, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, if anybody had a chance to watch the selectmen's meeting from the 22nd, I think it was that the last? I think that was the last Board of Selectmen meeting. And it's when we had a discussion about the menorah.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
Susie Sislicka from the Community Affairs Committee was also a participant, and she just talked about how having the menorah with the tree lighting ceremony, her kids started asking questions about the menorah and what it meant, and it led to a greater discussion about the differences between what they celebrate and what other people celebrate. And like, to me, it just encapsulated like what we're trying to achieve is for people to be able to have those conversations and to learn and to just begin having those conversations. I just thought it was when she was talking about it, I was like, yeah, that's what we're looking to see happen.
Yeah, promote the curiosity. Yep. Learn about each other. It's great.
Right. So is that what you mean, Deidre? Like something like, I understand where you're getting with the why we're doing things, but I think like, because what I was thinking through, like Susie, and then like stuff from the listening session, like not only this is why we're making the recommendations, this is what happened, and this is the impact that we think these recommendations could have in the community.
Right. I mean, the not just so yes, the clear benefit to the town, but also, I mean, why did the selectmen want this in the first place? Are we addressing what they want? Are we telling them what's in it for them in terms of what the original goal is? Like, are we addressing what they wanted? And so that needs to be clear. And then, I mean, without saying concrete example, I think it's hard to get my point across. So maybe when we look at the presentation, I'll have more to say about that, but I think what you said gets at what I meant.
Okay.
And I'm thinking the selectmen probably aren't 100% certain what they're looking for, other than we were responding to a major event in our country and doing something in our community that many communities around us have already done. And I think we are kind of the pilot, right, in our own town, and have done a phenomenal job exploring all the different departments and people and ideas. And I think the committee has done a phenomenal job embracing all the possible areas where we can make a difference with diversity and inclusion and equity.
So I just want to say, Tim had this idea, and he drafted, and he and Fred put together this thing and presented it because I don't think the selectmen were thinking about that if it hadn't been for his idea and his leadership. So we're in a sense helping them to understand the times and what's needed. So we're, I think, trying to educate, we need to educate them on the value of this committee, because I don't think, without Tim and without Fred putting this together, it never would have happened. We would not be here. Am I not right, Tim?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think we've seen it too, when we've talked with all the various department heads and other people in the community. There is an element of, for lack of a better term, fear when it comes to this type of work, because people don't know what it's about, and they're just, I think ultimately people are scared to look stupid, and people are scared they're going to say the wrong thing. And I think that is, those are real fears that people have. And I think part of this work is to help people kind of get over that. Like, sometimes it's okay to say the wrong thing, as long as you're not saying the wrong thing to hurt somebody. You didn't know. Like, it's, so to help people have the conversations that they need to have. And I agree that the board, while they've been supportive, I think that element of fear is there with them as well. And we just need to, and I think we've done a great job in alleviating some of that fear. And I think when we make the presentation and lay it out the way Becca has so far in the report, it's pretty straightforward, and there's nothing in there that's all that controversial. There's nothing in there that's political in nature or.
Tim, there are a couple of things that people may see as controversial when you mention, if we're recommending that you substitute, like a couple of days, it may not be, people may not be as comfortable with that. And so explaining why and helping them to learn, it's the good thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I took a job. I was retired. I took a job, and Monday, December 1st, I come in, and somebody had come in early, and all over the office was all this Christmas stuff. So Hanukkah had been, right, Sunday night. There was no mention. So I said, good morning. When I said good morning, I said, well, where's Hanukkah? Well, I'm a Christian now, and I'm not concerned about that, or I'm not worried about that. So, I said to the director, I said, here is a learning opportunity for you, for this team. And I thought of you, Tim, because they definitely need training. And so at the staff meeting, I told them about inclusion and respect and all of those different things. And one person got it and actually went out, because I said, well, he says, I don't know anything about Kwanzaa. I said, look it up. You can look it up, Hanukkah, you can look it up. We should have, if we're going to have a business in this state of the art, we should have more than white Santa Claus. I have white and black Santas, right? So, it's educating people so that they can be more comfortable with diversity and inclusion. Because you're right, they're afraid, and also some of them just don't know. You're smiling, Deidre.
It's sort of an inside joke, because my husband's in IT, and I'm always like, can you fix this? And he tells me that I can look it up. So it was just, when you were saying you could look it up, it was hitting a nerve, because I'm like so reluctant to look it up. But you're right, you can have agency too.
Yeah, I mean, and if you need to be inclusive, you just like, even thinking of putting up a manure for Hanukkah in town is a major step. We've been here, well, Fred's been here about a little over 40 years, and I've been here maybe 20, almost 30. Never ever thought of it, and I've ridden that van, that little trolley with Santa elves and all that stuff. We never thought about stuff like that. And it's time that we do.
Yep, I agree.
Tim, I think you're right about fear. And, one of the things that I really tried to get across in the draft report was that while I think there is fear, there's also a very healthy appetite and desire to learn and to do more and to do better. I felt that, especially from the department heads and the staff that we talked to. There was a lot of just like, what can we do? How can we do it better, and be better at what we do, and what training should we be taking? There's an appetite to do whatever it is that will help us make progress. And I really felt like throughout those conversations that those people were looking at this group, at this committee, as a resource, and as a resource for education, and to implement some of those positive changes. So that's something that I really want to get across to the board, is that this is something that everybody wants to continue. It's a conversation that we've just barely scratched the surface, and I think that the board will be supportive. I'm not worried about the board, or having to convince them that what we're recommending is the right thing. There might be some questions, and people might ask for clarification, or like, how are you going to do this, and what are you going to do if this happens? And we'll have to talk through those things. But I really do feel like this town, this community is ready for this, and desires it. So
I've thought of an example. I know earlier you were asking what I meant by making it clear what the impact will be, or what the why is. And so just before this meeting, I was in a focus group. So the Coalition for Equity in the School District has hired an agency to conduct an equity audit. And they did a survey, they're doing focus groups in the community. And I think one thing that I'm hopeful is that so the coalition is doing a lot already, but I'm hoping that agency will reveal some blind spots. Like we're not equipped to think of everything, but I'm hoping that they will uncover something that we haven't thought of. So I think it's important to say that, like, as we pitch to hire someone from outside to come, that's going to cost a lot of money. We have to say that this is necessary because we need to have their expertise to uncover things that we haven't thought of. And that gets at what you're talking about this fear. Like, people in themselves are not necessarily completely knowledgeable of all of these issues, and that makes them fearful. So if there's someone else who does have the knowledge that can come in and help us be much better, we can do that. So, but without having that part about what these people can do for us in a very concrete way and why it would be impactful, I think it's it might fall a little flat. Like, why would I spend all this money for that? If especially since we've done such good work. So if you can do it, why am I hiring this other people? And that's what I mean by, like, the why part.
So do we have cost information or in recommendations, or are we just recommending that we'll be recommending we hire someone? Do we need to have cost or anything like that, Becca?
I have cost estimates. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I'm hesitant to put them into the recommendations, because if the board wants to pursue the strategic plan, they will tell the town administrator, this is something we want to pursue. Like, now you need to go figure out how much it costs and how to pay for it. That's sort of like the way I imagine it happening. So I don't want to put it on the board, and I don't want them to have sticker shock or anything. Like, that's not really, like, if they decide at our recommendation that it's something that they want to pursue, then we will, the committee and the staff will find a way to make it happen, basically. That's sort of like the process that I envision. And I don't want them to feel like, oh, that's too much money, or that's not enough money. Like, that's not, if we decide that it's important as a community, we'll figure out a way to get there. And I think that's what should matter to the Board of Selectmen and to our committee in terms of the recommendation. But I do know how much it costs.
I don't know about, you better talk to John before.
Oh, I talked to John. John read the
Okay.
recommendations.
Okay, don't have John surprised because he'll have a stroke.
Yeah, the reason it took me so long to get you the recommendations is because I was waiting for John's edits.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't have very many, so I thought that was good.
That was good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, he's on board, so that's good.
Excellent.
That's good for us.
Yes, yes.
All right, anybody have anything else on the presentation? Obviously, we'll pick it up at our next meeting. Becca, is our next meeting scheduled for December 16th?
Yes.
I am not going to be here on the 16th.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to try to do it another day?
I don't think we can do this without Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if we're going to be talking about the presentation that you're going to be giving.
yeah, I
Um,
got tickets to bring my kids to a Christmas Carol at the Hanover Theater in Worcester. So,
How about Wednesday night? Can we do Wednesday, the 15th? Is Zoom available?
I don't, it looks like there are already 2 meetings scheduled that night.
Tuesday?
Yeah, we could do Monday, the 13th, or Tuesday, the 14th.
Not the 14th, guys. That's a very special day. A star was born that day. So we could do Monday,
Is that your birthday?
the 14th.
Aw,
So Monday, I'll do Monday.
Yeah, same. I have a commitment on Tuesday, but I can do Monday.
I can do Monday.
Can do
Monday works for me.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm gonna put a hold on my calendar.
Thank you, everybody, for being flexible.
Oh,
No
anytime.
problem.
Okay, I'll send out an email to the group with the updated meeting link for the Monday, the 13th meeting. And we'll go from there. That just means I need all your comments sooner on the draft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss tonight? A
No.
motion for adjournment?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Motion by Deidre, second by Virginia, was it?
yeah.
Roll call vote, Mary Leach,
Aye.
Deidre Writing,
Aye.
Miriam Ibrahimi,
Aye.
Virginia Sims George,
Aye.
Becca Meekins.
Aye.
And I, Tim Kalen,